Hello and welcome to this installment of 7th Inning Stretch. I'm your host, as always, Ben Pope, and here today with me, alongside me, is Alex Green. Alex, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Happy to be here. Excited to talk some baseball.
Well, you say we're talking baseball here on 7th Inning Stretch as usual, and you decided to, interestingly, wear a Mets shirt there. I see that.
Yes, I do. Even
Are
though
you-
I'm a Red Sox fan, this might sound pretty bad, but I do not have many Red Sox shirts in my collection, so figured I'd wear something baseball related since you're wearing a jersey, and I went with it.
Well, the reason we're wearing all this baseball attire for today's session is that we're approaching the start of the 2021 season. And to celebrate a little bit, Alex and I are actually going to be giving our season predictions as well as our most valuable player picks and Cy Young picks. So without all the formalities out of the way, let's hop right into it. So Alex, we're going to start off with your American League predictions.
Sure. So my AL playoff team. So from the AL East, I have the division winner being the New York Yankees. Their lineup is stacked. They have guys like Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Luke Voit, Gleyber Torres, and then their pitching. They made additions with Corey Kluber and Jameson Taillon. That top three, if they stay healthy, are really good. The big question for the Yankees is just health. If all their guys can stay healthy, they should be a contender like they always are. And for the AL Central Division winners, I have the White Sox. Their lineup has a lot of young guys who have great potential. Yoan Moncada, Tim Anderson. They also have some veterans in there like Jose Abreu, Yasmani Grandal. So I think the White Sox are all around the balanced team with their rotation as well of Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolito, and Dallas Keuchel with the addition this offseason. So I think the White Sox will win the AL Central. For the AL West division winners, I have the Astros. Even though they lost George Springer, their lineup still has plenty of good hitters, and Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, and Alex Bregman being the good ones. And they also re-signed Michael Brantley, which is a good move. He helps with their outfield. And then their Zach Greinke and Lance McCullers are the top two guys in their rotation. They're fairly solid guys, so I think the Astros will win the AL West. Moving on to my AL wildcard teams, I have the Minnesota Twins. The lineup, I think, is neck to neck with the White Sox, but I think they give the rotation to the White Sox, even though the Twins lineup has Max Kepler, Josh Donaldson, Nelson Cruz, some good guys there, but the rotation for the White Sox is a little bit better, which is why I have them winning the division over the Twins. And I have the Toronto Blue Jays winning the second wild card spot in the American League. They have George Springer. In addition to them, he is a one-of-a-kind player in the outfield. The lineup already has a lot of young guys, too, with Kevin Biggio, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bill Bichette. So George Springer with that lineup addition as well is good. The reason I don't think they'll win the division is because they really just have Hyunjin Ryu as their ace in Toronto, but besides that, their rotation is kind of weak.
Very interesting there, Alex. So my playoff predictions for the American League, pretty similar, but I have a few differences in here. So starting off with the American League East, I think it's mainly a two-team race, actually, between the Yankees and the defending American League champs, the Tampa Bay Rays. I have the Yankees winning the division, unfortunately. As a Sox fan, I hate to say that, but I think it's true. The Yankees, by far, I think, have the deepest lineup in the American League. You mentioned Aaron Judge, guys like Giancarlo Stanton, Luke Voit. Great lineup there. Their bullpen is a little bit weakened, missing Zach Britton and Adam Ottavino, who got traded to the Red Sox. But their starting rotation has improved, adding Corey Kluber and Jameson Taillon. So I think it'll be solid there, and it'll be enough to beat out the Rays. In the AL Central, I have the White Sox winning there. I think it's going to be a two-team race once again between them and the Twins. And unfortunately, even though that Eloy Jimenez just suffered a season-ending injury, I still think the White Sox have enough pitching over the Twins, including, like you mentioned, Cy Young contender Lucas Giolito, Dallas Keuchel, Lance Lynn, and their bullpen is absolutely nasty, especially with the addition of Liam Hendricks there. In the American League West, I think this is very much the Houston Astros division to lose. I think the Angels and the Athletics are both going to make runs, but we still have concerns about the Angels pitching, and the Athletics lost some significant pieces, including Liam Hendricks and Marcus Semien. So I think the Astros are going to remain the favorites there, and I have them winning the West. For my American League wildcard teams, I have the Twins and the Rays. I think they are both strong teams that can win 90-plus games. The Rays are always in the playoff mix. I think Kevin Cash is, despite his misconducts in the World Series last year, I think he's one of the best managers in the game, and I think he's always able to make something happen with the roster that they have down there, especially with playoff hero Randy Arozarena. And then with the Twins, they have a strong lineup, the Bomba squad, and I think that their pitching, led up by Kenta Maeda and Jose Barrios, will be able to carry them to a playoffs. So moving on, we're going to go into our National League playoff teams, and I'm going to start off this time, starting off in the National League East. I think this is probably the best division in baseball, actually. I think that all 5 teams all deserve a little bit of a shot at the playoffs here. I have the Atlanta Braves winning the division. I think that they have one of the best young lineups in the league, with guys like Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Freddie Freeman being the main 3. Also Marcell Ozuna, who they brought back on a 4-year deal. I think their young starting rotation and their pitching staff is a little bit of a concern, but I think it's strong enough, along with their amazing lineup, it's going to be able to carry them over the second-place team, who I have a wild card winning New York Mets. They made an amazing move this offseason, acquiring Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco from the Cleveland Indians. They also made some great additions in the bullpen, and Trevor May added catcher James McCann. I think Pete Alonso, Dominic Smith, they have a very strong lineup, Jeff McNeil, just naming names. And they obviously have the best starting pitcher in baseball, Jacob deGrom. So I have them as a wild card team. Moving on to the National League Central, I have the Milwaukee Brewers actually winning the division there. I think their starting pitching, despite being a little bit underrated, not many people know their main starting pitching, but I think Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns are 2 of the most dynamic young pitchers in the game today. I think both of them are going to have a real shot at the Cy Young Award this year. And MVP Christian Yelich looks to bounce back after a pretty down 2020, but I think their lineup, carried by Yelich, will be able to beat over the St. Louis Cardinals, who I have in second place, but it's going to be a head-to-head matchup there. Finally, I have the National League West, and this is a clear one to me. It's the reigning champion Los Angeles Dodgers. I have them beating over the San Diego Padres, who I actually think those 2 teams are the best 2 teams in baseball right now, if I'm being completely honest. The Dodgers have probably the best depth in baseball, one of the best starting pitching rotations in baseball. They have 7 quality guys that could honestly be in the rotation, and headed up their lineup with Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, Will Smith. It's an amazing lineup there, and I think are going to take the division over the wild card winning San Diego Padres with all the additions that they made, the big 2 being Yu Darvish and Blake Snell. Their lineup is also very strong, and with Drew Pomeranz and Emilio Pagan stringing out their bullpen. Alex, what about your National League playoff picture?
To the NL East, this is very hard for me to say, but I think the Atlanta Braves will win the division, even though I love the Mets and I love the offseason additions they made. For the Braves, like you mentioned, they have a really good young lineup with Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies. They have Freddie Freeman in there as well, who's a veteran, and Marcell Ozuna, a veteran as well. So their lineup is really, really solid from top to bottom. Their rotation, Fried and Morton, is kind of a little bit weak, but I think Max Fried is a really good young pitcher. Charlie Morton is a nice addition from the Rays this offseason for them. And then I've given the slight edge over the Mets just because I think purely based on talent, I think the Braves are better than the Mets. I have the St. Louis Cardinals over the Milwaukee Brewers. I just think the Cardinals lineup overall is stronger than the Brewers lineup overall. They traded for Ronald Arenado, who's one of the best third basemen in baseball, if not the best. And then they had him to line up with already with Paul Goldschmidt, Paul DeJong, and Yadier Molina, who are 3 quality hitters. So overall, I just think the Cardinals, while their pitching is a little bit weaker than the Brewers in terms of their starting rotation, at least they only have Jack Flaherty really, but I think the Cardinals lineup overall is stronger than the Brewers lineup overall. Moving on to the NL West, like you said, I think the Dodgers, their rotation, like you said, is 7 guys deep. They have Clayton Kershaw, David Price, Walker Buehler, just name a couple of the guys in their rotation there. Their lineup is one of the best in baseball, obviously with Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, like you said. So I think this is the Dodgers division to win yet again. I think the Dodgers are the strongest team in baseball. Moving on to my wild card teams, I have the Padres, like you said. They made some additions with Yu Darvish and Blake Snell, which I think will really help out their rotation with Chris Paddock there as well. So that top 3, I think, is one of the better ones in the league. And then their lineup has some good pieces: Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, Eric Hosmer, Tommy Pham, just to name a few of the guys there. So I think while the Padres will be a wild card team, they'll be very, very close to beating out the Dodgers for the division. Then I have the Mets. Their rotation is a lot deeper with additions of Carlos Carrasco and Taijuan Walker, who will be a nice back-end piece of the rotation for the New York Mets. They added Lindor to a line that already has a lot of young, promising hitters, like you mentioned, Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, J.D. Davis, to name one as well, Dominic Smith. So I think the Mets lineup is very solid. They have Michael Conforto there as well.
Very interesting, to say the least. So we're pretty close on our division rankings, but let's go a little bit nitpickier and more about the positional players and the awards there. So we're going to be talking about our most valuable player picks, and I'm going to start off with you, Alex. So who do you have winning the American League MVP?
So for the American League MVP, I have Mike Trout winning it. Mike Trout is one of the best players, if not the best player in baseball, and he's always a MVP candidate, no matter how bad the Angels are, no matter how good the Angels are. So I just think he'll put up the stats to be an MVP candidate once again, like he always is. And then for the NL MVP, I have Mookie Betts. That Dodgers lineup is stacked. It has a lot of guys in it, but I think Mookie Betts will still stand out a little bit from the rest of the guys, even though that lineup is so strong. Mookie Betts was an MVP candidate last year with the Dodgers as well, so there's no reason to say that why he shouldn't change.
Heard loud and clear, the best two players in baseball, at least in my opinion. So I went a little bit off the board with my MVP picks. I'll start off in the American League, and I'm a very big fan of the Chicago White Sox this year. But I have Tim Anderson from the White Sox actually as my American League MVP. Eloy Jimenez just got announced that he's going to be missing the entirety of the 2021 season, and I think that someone needs to step on that White Sox team. And I don't think it's going to be reigning MVP Jose Abreu. I think it's going to be Tim Anderson. I think he's able to improve his defense a little bit. He has arguably one of the best bat-to-ball skills in the league, always hitting over 300 the last couple of years, and I think he's going to be able to take that next step and actually win American League MVP. And for National League MVP, maybe this one isn't too far off the board because he hit 53 home runs in 2019, but I have Mets first baseman Pete Alonso as my winner. So I think that with the addition of Francisco Lindor and James McCann to deepen the Mets lineup a little bit, I think Alonso might be forgotten just a little bit. And with arguably the top 5 to 6 hitters in the Mets lineup, aside from Alonso being left-handed, he's going to be the only right-hander in that lineup. He's going to be focused on when facing right-handed pitching, and I think he's going to be able to crush it. I have a lot of confidence in Pete Alonso, and I think he's going to win National League MVP. So moving on to our Cy Young picks now, and I'm going to start off in the National League this time around. And I think this one is not too surprising here. I think San Diego right-hander Yu Darvish is going to be my Cy Young Award winner. He had a really strong year, finished second in the National League Cy Young with the Chicago Cubs, and now being traded over to kind of a pitching ballpark rather than a hitter-friendly ballpark in Chicago. I think San Diego is going to fit really well for him. I think Yu Darvish has been able to establish over the last couple years that he's able to pitch without that really high 98 to 99 mile per hour fastball. He's more reliant on his breaking pitches now. He's developed a lot of pitches over the last couple years, and working with guys like Pitching Ninja and Trevor Bauer, he's actually been able to learn a lot about how he's able to age a little bit better, and I think he's going to age like a fine wine. And then for the American League, I have Hyunjin Ryu of the Toronto Blue Jays. Like Alex mentioned earlier with his talk about the Blue Jays, he's really the only good starting pitching player on that team. And honestly, I think it's kind of the Jacob deGrom effect. I think that with guys like Garrett Cole and Shane Bieber mostly garnering the attention, he's going to go under the radar a little bit. He might not get the wins that the other two have, but I think he's going to have the overall better numbers. And he, just like Yu Darvish, he's learning how to pitch as an older player, and I think he's done amazingly, especially adjusting to the American League East.
I'll start with the AL. I have Garrett Cole winning it. I think he's obviously the ace in the Yankees rotation, and with that Yankees lineup, he'll get a lot of wins, hopefully, since that lineup will be able to produce some runs for him. And I think he's going to be the best pitcher in the American League once again, like he was last season. For the NL, I have Jacob deGrom. Quite simply put, Ben, you put the Mets. He's the best pitcher in baseball. He's won the Cy Young Award when the Mets lineup has been a lot weaker than it is right now. On the field for Lindor, Alonso, like I mentioned before. So I think Jacob deGrom will have a lot better stats than he has in previous years, and with better stats, I think it's Jacob deGrom is a lock to win the Cy Young in the NL.
And we're actually going to turn over to your World Series predictions now to wrap it up.
So my World Series prediction, I think it's going to be a battle between the two best teams in the MLB right now, currently in the NL and the AL. I have the Dodgers defeating the New York Yankees in 6 games. I think the Dodgers and the Yankees are both strong. The Yankees, I think, are the strongest team in the AL. Maybe the White Sox can challenge them, but the Dodgers are obviously the strongest team in the MLB. Their lineup, like we mentioned before, their rotation are just too strong. And I think that their starting rotation the guys in the Dodgers starting rotation are stronger or better than the Yankees starting rotation. So that's why I give them the slight advantage over the Yankees in 6 games.
Heard loud and clear. And unfortunately, I do somewhat agree with you there. I do have a different American League team. I do have the Dodgers coming out of the National League, but I actually have the Chicago White Sox coming out of the American League. I think that people worrying about Tony La Russa coming over as the manager, a lot of people are concerned about that because he's an old school manager. He's got all these fun players. I don't think that's going to be a concern at all. Tony La Russa is a award-winning manager. He's won World Series before, and he knows how to do it. He's got the squad to do that there in Chicago. And even though that the loss of Eloy Jimenez is going to be huge, I think that they still have the squad to be able to go to the World Series. And I do have the Dodgers defeating them in 5 games. So I have the Dodgers over the White Sox in 5 games. Alex has the Dodgers over the Yankees in 6 games. So that's all we have here on 7th Inning Stretch for this edition. So I am Ben Pope, along with Alex Green, and thank you guys for watching. Josh, play us out.